episodes have the most important job for a series. If they fail to engage people, your show will not continue. TUGS is different, as for them, it wasn't one single episode to get the entire show the green light. They were fortunate enough to get the entire first season made. As previously established, Jinx was the first episode to be filmed while Sunshine was the second, but chronologically, Sunshine was always going to be the first in the show. You might be wondering why I would even bother covering any of the 20-minute cuts, because these are the full episodes. What is there even to talk about? Well, Sunshine has a lot of cut content. There are 3 different cuts for this episode. We got the 15, the 20, and the originally planned 30-minute cut. Sunshine does a great job of introducing all the characters and their personalities. Well, at least for the Star Tugs. The episode starts by Captain Star introducing us to Big City Port and all of his Star Tugs. Captain Star contracted a switcher named Sunshine, and it's Tencent's job to show him the ropes. They have the opportunity to get the ocean contract if they get the Dutches in safely. Captain Zero tells his Z-Stacks to think devious. I've always found Zip interesting in this episode, as this is before his full shift into thinking like a Z-Stack. Sunshine finds Tencent and they go off to do their jobs. They supply fuel for Sally's seaplane, and I'll never get over how Sunshine reacts to her. It's so silly.
Hello, Sally.
Ware offers Izzy Gomez a tow, but he gets distracted, leaving him behind. Zip and Zug end up helping Big Mac, but they end up betraying his trust and he gets beached, which is insane to have for your first episode. Tencent and Sunshine have to fill in for him, and he makes the stars look bad and the Z-Stacks look great. But little did Zoran know that Izzy Gomez was watching him the entire time. Sunshine just feels horrible. Tencent is the only Tug to go look for him, and that's when Tencent ran into Izzy Gomez. Izzy tells Tencent what he saw, and Tencent tells the others, and they all find Sunshine just in time. Captain Zero loses the contract, and Sunshine is now officially a part of the fleet. This episode is packed with so many fun character dynamics. It truthfully shows you what the entire show will be like. I love Tencent and Hercules. Their interactions are so sibling-coded, especially when Hercules freaks out when Tencent finds him hanging out near Lily. Izzy Gomez, while being a rather dated stereotype, which genuinely sucks, his part of the story was really interesting. Zoran really takes the spotlight here, though. He's such a fun antagonist, and I've always loved Zoran. I love how Zip is also learning from him through the entire episode, and he's just mad about it the entire time. OJ, as usual, is just such a cool guy. He gathers everyone to go look for Sunshine after Tencent informs them of what Izzy saw. But of course, I cannot forget to mention Top Hat. He steals the spotlight of the entire show with nearly every scene he's in. He's definitely the most entertaining character of the entire show, and he shines in this episode. What else is there even left to say about this episode? It's a wonderful first episode, and gives everyone exactly what they should expect from TUGS. So, now let's go into the dreaded 15-minute cut to see what they cut for time. The 15-minute cut surprisingly has a lot of footage they added to this episode exclusive to the 15-minute cut. When Captain Star says, "Ocean liners," we get a shot from high winds, which is actually color corrected correctly instead of this weird magenta-ish tint that the actual episode has. For Tencent, we get a shot of him from Regatta, while the rest of the original introduction plays after the clip. We get a shot of these ships going by when Captain Star talks about their jobs for the day. Some shots of Zero's megaphone are replaced with more animated ones. The scene of OJ telling Tencent that Sunshine is looking for him is replaced with a much shorter exclusive shot of Sunshine looking around and then running into Tencent. We get this nice close-up of Sunshine here. We get some shots of Sunshine floating away in the 15-minute cut. This shot here gives us a good look at Snatcher, which, more about him when we get to Ghost. For the exclusive footage, there is a surprising amount. Yeah, some of it is from other episodes, but these are nice rewards for just watching the worst version of the episode. Alright, let's take a look at some of the scenes that they cut to get to the 15-minute runtime. The briefing scene ends in the 15-minute cut after Captain Star says, "We have to prove ourselves," which is a huge loss due to the character interactions. The scene of Zack and Zoran talking to Captain Zero has been removed along with the Sally scene. Because the Sally scene is gone, Tencent's dialogue is removed and the shot of the Z-Stacks is shortened. After Zoran says, "Okay, stupid," the scene plays out some more and the rest of the scene is cut. Which means, sadly, that the kids watching this on TV never got to hear Zip's delivery of "devious man, Devious. That makes me rather sad. Warrior talking to Izzy has been removed. The close-up of Warrior's shocked face is gone for no real reason too. For some reason we see Big Mac beached, and then it cuts to Warrior bringing in the ship? No idea why this was done. OJ being worried about Big Mac was cut as well. They also shortened the scene where the stars are bringing in the ocean liner and Zoran talking to Zip. The fireworks scene is shortened, but it also plays after Captain Zero congratulates his Z-Stacks in the 15-minute cut. They cut Top Hat's dialogue after Tencents went to go look for Sunshine. The scene of Tencents looking for Sunshine is shortened. The entire scene of Hercules and Lily talking to Tencents was removed, and instead Tencents finds Izzy immediately. Big Mac, Warrior, and Top Hat go look for Sunshine was cut. During production, due to reshooting the scene, Sunshine wears his star livery instead of his white one. So in the 15-minute cut, they attempt to cover this up by removing the saturation to make it appear that he's still painted white. That's a pretty interesting way to tackle it. Warrior, remembering he forgot to tow Izzy, was removed because that scene hadn't been removed prior, so there's no reason to have it. For Captain Zero yelling at Zoran, it shows his sign first now. The scene was also shortened. And that's it for what they cut. I can't imagine the timeline where we only got the 15-minute cut of this episode. It's still good, I mean it's TUGS, so it's always going to be good. But so much of the pacing in the 20 felt so natural, and the 15 is just all rushed and so off. It's cool to see what they did, and we could even extend some of the previous existing scenes by combining both cuts, which is really neat. But before we move on from the real cut content we didn't get, I want to take a look at the only episode we have of the official American dub is Sunshine. Thankfully, it was the 20-minute cut, which makes me wonder if it came out in America, would we have gotten the 20-minute cuts for every single episode? That would have been nice. I'll start by saying this. It's not a bad dub, but the cast for the UK dub was just so perfect, and it's hard to strike gold twice. Zip's voice is so strange.
But how? I mean, I thought that
Captain Star lacks the professional tone he has in the UK dub.
Tencent, go find our new recruit.
I do like Tencent's voice.
Sunshine, meet Sally.
Sunshine's voice is a unique take on the character.
Hello, Sally.
Warrior sounds exactly like I thought he would.
That's right. Big Tugs only, Tencent.
OJ is done really well, and they got a great voice actor for Top Hat, which I'm so happy about.
Aye, aye, sir.
My pleasure. Too bad there's no job for you, Tencent.
My personal favorite voice in this dub is Big Mac's. It feels so strong, and it really fits his character.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Izzy Gomez's is,
What I know is I sit around waiting for nobody to tell me the Dutch keep coming this morning. Suddenly everybody's too busy.
worse than the UK, which, you know, that's impressive, I guess. This is a fun novelty to have, and I am glad it was leaked online for us all to hear. I don't have much else to add on to this, but this is the third version of Sunshine we have. So far, that is. Alright, let's go on to the picture book. For Sunshine, we did get a picture book, surprisingly, the scissor reel, and an entire 30-minute cut script. It is important to note that for the 30-minute cuts, we never actually got anything filmed. Only the 20 exists. For the stuff that was filmed, as we see from the scissor reel, the intro was completely different and way more cinematic. Instead of using stock footage, it was all specially shot for this episode, and the way the camera moves is so just beautiful! This is believed to be the original narration for this opening. It might be an early draft, as I don't know if we'll ever know for sure what it was supposed to be. I won't be reading it all to you, but they mention how steam tugs were in their heyday, and were gradually replacing the old sailing scows. But the steam, in its turn, would shortly have to give way to diesel. We get an alternative shot of Zoran hitting Sunshine, which I feel looks a lot nicer than the final. We get this beautiful camera pan for the introduction of Hercules with the little owl moving in the background. Genuinely so beautiful, and it seems like they had a lot of fun with this original scene. A scene that appears to almost made it into the final episode that wasn't reshot comes from the Sunshine picture book. Zack and Zoran overhear Captain Star talk about the Duchess getting the contract, and then it most likely would have cut to the briefing with Captain Zero, which is really interesting, but I get why they cut it. It seems like it would have been available if we had a 21-minute cut, but oh well. What is very important to mention about the picture book is that this is the closest to the originally planned 20-minute cut that was supposed to be for Sunshine. They had to redo a bunch of the script during filming, so there was a lot of rewrites that happened. But there also are some exclusive shots to this picture book that I want to go over briefly before we get to the 30-minute cut. The first is an alternative shot of the Z stacks all together, which looks really nice. Another one is an alternative angle of the Sally Seaplane scene, where we get to see a better look at Sally Seaplane's hangar, which looks really nice. Then, for the final scene, I think it would have been closer to, like will be described later, the 30-minute cuts ending, where, spoiler alert, the Star Tugs end up going to complete their next job for the day. So I think it might have been like that for the ending of this original 20-minute cut, but that's just a theory. Now onto the 30-minute cut, which I believe would have been called the Star Tugs due to the document story subjects for Tugs episodes listing episode 1 as the Star Tugs. For the 30-minute cut script, it is important to note that we have the second and first draft, but I'll be focusing on the second draft as that is where most of the character scenes are, and when needed, I'll talk about the first draft to give context. It was weird to judge this as they would alter it for the final episode, but Sunshine is a completely different episode from the 30-minute draft. The story starts with character introductions, and OJ is very involved, which I find really nice. Tencent doesn't appear for a while in the script, which was shocking. It just focuses on OJ, Big Mac, Warrior, and Top Hat's somewhat race against Zoran and Zack. OJ and Big Mac are against Zoran and Zack, and they are competing for a towing contract. The Z stacks swerve dangerously while the Star Tugs try to block them. OJ was supposed to have a golden eagle on top of his wheelhouse, which is a fun detail, but somehow this eagle's eye shines, which is basically OJ's way of communicating with Big Mac in the moment, and they outsmart the Z stacks by taking an alternative route, which makes them go slower due to thinking they aren't in a race anymore. The way Tencent and Sunshine meet is just by working in the same location with each other, and they get along pretty much instantly. We find out that Lucky's yard is owned by Captain Lucky, which is pretty cool. Already this plot is different from the final episode, but here's truthfully where the entire focus of the episode differs from the 20-minute cut. Sunshine and Tencent see a steel hull being made for a tugboat, which the hull's actually in the final episode. Tencent talks about it having a diesel engine. Sunshine doubts it, and Tencent says, "We can come back later and find out for sure." That was a horrible Tencent's impression. Sunshine sees OJ in Big Mac and cuts his engine due to him being disappointed it wasn't a liner, as he always wanted to pull one. Tencent basically tells him, "We can't do that, just move on." And they get water from the liner. We then get introduced to Hercules and Lily. We find out that Hercules and Tencent are brothers, which makes so much sense with all of their interactions in the final episode and just the entire show. Tencent and Sunshine wait until night to go investigate. They see the hull, along with some marine supplies, and a tanker labeled Diesel Fuel Tank. This diesel tug was supposed to act as an overarching plot for the show. We would even see in the final episodes filmed that this thing was getting built. In Sunshine, we see its metal frame being constructed, and in Jinx we see its hull. The diesel tug is really interesting and really could be its own video, and I've seen pretty good videos by other people who have covered it if you're interested. We really gloss past it in the episode though. We get another briefing scene, and the Duchess is coming in. We get basically the same scene with Sally, while not having anywhere near the same dialogue. It is essentially the same scene. Except for one fact. Sunshine and Tencent were watching Snatcher. Snatcher actually appears in the final show, and in this episode. He's right here in the intro. But like I said earlier, more about Snatcher when we get to Ghost. The Duchess can apparently speak in the draft, which makes a lot more sense. The Coast Guard was at one point called Peeper Pipes, or is a different character that seems to have evolved into the Coast Guard. He tells Tencent and Sunshine that they are needed to help the Duchess, which makes Sunshine excited that his dream is coming true. They get to go see Little Ditcher being bullied by the Z-Stacks, except for Zug. Zug respects Little Ditcher apparently. Sunshine and Zoran verbally fight, and then he makes fun of them for having 3 Z-Stacks to haul Little Ditcher when it only takes 2 Star Tugs to haul him. Anyway, Zoran hits Sunshine pretty similar like the actual episode Into the Duchess. The stars are mad at him, and he goes away. But now everyone is bullying this guy. Thanks to the first draft, when Tencent is asleep, the stars plan to punish Sunshine. Late in the afternoon, they surround Sunshine, and they turn their hoses on, and they cover him in pink paint. Ships pass by laughing at him, and even a boy laughs at him. Look at this! Sunshine got bullied by this guy. I headcanon this to be the one that drowned in Jinx, just to make me feel better. Anyway, then Sunshine tries to kill himself. Wait, what? What? Yeah, Sunshine tries to turn off his engine and sinks lower into the water and, quote, A long depressive sigh of steam, end quote. The next day, Tencent looks for Sunshine, but he doesn't notice him because he's covered in pink. Big Mac pulls Lord Stinker, who is known as the Lord of Flies. When Tencent goes back, OJ is like, "Hey Tencent, remember Sunshine? Well, we covered him in bright pink paint, and that may have not been the best idea." Which is crazy for the Star Tugs to do! Imagine messing up one time and your coworkers just jump you. That is essentially what Sunshine had to deal with. Insane! Tencent now realizes that the pink was Sunshine, so he had the others go look for him, but the high tide makes it hard to see. Thankfully, Grampus found him. So the Star Tugs, Grampus, and Mighty Mo save Sunshine. Cool, no, Grampus was in this. The next day, Captain Star announces that Sunshine's owner sent him to Lucky's yard. My guess is to be used for parts or to be sold off, but Captain Star made a deal to buy Sunshine, and Sunshine strolls in, and they all cheer, and the episode ends in an aura-filled way by Captain Star telling them their jobs for the next day. So that was the 30-minute draft of Sunshine. I feel weird judging this because it is a draft and it obviously was changed. But wow, after reading this, we definitely got the best version of the episode. Too much happens in this episode. We got the Diesel Tug thing, which was focused on way too much for being a setup. We have so many characters to meet. We got all the stars and the Z-Stacks minus Zug, plus Lily, Mighty Mo, Snatcher, Sally, Lord Stinker, Captain Lucky, and even though he doesn't appear, he is highly relevant, and Grampus! So many extra characters plus an entire new setting and a main cast to meet. It's just too loaded. I love that this is so ambitious at the end of the day, and it still is TUGS, so it will be good, but the 20-minute cut of Sunshine is by far the best version of the episode we could have possibly gotten. For their help for this video, they've genuinely helped with this entire series so far. Anyone actually made their own Sunshine video. I bet it's good. I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but it's an hour long and goes a lot more into detail about more of the production side than I do. Be it for Sunshine and cut content. I bet some of you thought this episode would be kind of boring to cover because we already have the 20-minute cut of it. I debated about skipping or even covering this episode with another one due to not thinking there was much to it, but Sunshine has such a fascinating amount of cut content.